Hey, it's Caroline Fulghum. In watching the play, The Seagulls, via Zoom, it was quite interesting. I thought they did a decent job pulling it together and very creative, even thinking about doing things like that just to keep the art going. I like the actors for the most part. I think some were better than others. But anyway, some of the things I noticed in the play, based on the neoclassical ideals, the verisimilitude, the idea, the scenes were believable. Zoom meetings tend to expose real elements of life, so it kind of pulled it all together. One instance was the wine and liquor bottles sitting on the table, exposing the reality of living in solitude during the lockdown, and that being pointed out by someone else who saw the background of their scene. The dogs popping in and out of the scene were a nice touch versus, kids like picking their nose, for instance. Another thing I saw was where the actors were acting their age, specifically the uncle, noted as being one of the vulnerable during the pandemic and during the lockdown. And so he couldn't get out to get milk and was depending on others to possibly help him. As far as the unities of place, time, and action, the place where it's supposed to be in one location or general location, I guess it could be, considering it was on Zoom, which meets the one place. But there were elements of leaving the scene via, like on Constantine's cell phone, popping into the actors' locations, kind of tended to move the scene to multiple locations. So it was kind of a combination. As far as time, the play took place within one day during the first scene. So that was kind of a no-brainer. And then as far as the action, where there was one central story with all characters are a part of and no subplots, there were lots of subplots, in my opinion, zooming in and out, conversations and connections within the group, but all focusing on coming together for the play. So it kind of went out and back in. And decorum, the actors talked of social ranking and basing relationships on not being acceptable due to being broke. Also, the mom dating a famous person, which uplifted her appearance and of importance, and having the national treasure on her arm. And then there were also elements of commedia dell'arte. This was a troupe of actors, more men than women. I believe there was more than 7 and 3, but still the comparison or the ratio being the same. And then the characters would offer some elements of low humor, like Constantine talking about having butterflies seeing Nina, or the conversation between the doctor and I don't know the actress's name, but how they were talking about playing the field. They were trying to add a little twist of humor in there. As far as restoration comedy, the farce by far was Eric getting up in front of his camera with no pants on and realizing it. It was kind of poorly acted, but the thought of it just made me laugh because, it tends to happen a lot with Zoom. And then the comedy of manners, where the mom wouldn't mute or hit the mute button, being nosy or not realizing how to do things because she showed her age and not knowing technology. Or the uncle going to the loo to get out of a conversation and checking out real quick during one of the scenes. Musical theater, it kind of lent itself toward the mother playing the piano and serenading the group. That was kind of cool, and she could sing, so that was really good. So the question, how well do they adapt to the challenges of online theater? I think adapting to the online theater venue has its perks. I appreciated the efforts made to make it work. Many of the elements of the theater were pulled together well. There were love proclaimed scenes, but from a distance, and then the comedy of sorts, and then music, and then change of scenes. And when I was reading the credits, it still took many people in the background to set all this up. So, I mean, even down to the food tables and things, they were still obviously still getting together. So, that lent itself to not total reality. My overall rating, I'm going to give it a Zoom meeting rating. So, 4 out of 5 Zoom meetings. Having been in many Zoom meetings during the pandemic, I can appreciate how they pulled this all together. The acting of each actor had, varied. There were some better than others. Some were more polished. Overall, I would probably listen to the next one and to see what happens because it was intriguing. So thanks, Professor Gallus, for assigning this. And I think that's all. Thanks.